I'm Mick, and this is Sally. In our videos, we hope to showcase what Australia has to offer. You can follow us on our adventures via the following social media platforms. If you like the video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. In part 2 of 7.5 days in a road train, I spend my time in Queensland, travelling from Charleville through to Camooweal, and that's seen here in the blue line on the map. Still heading north from Charleville, I come into the intersection here and do a left-hand turn to go towards Argathella, and then hopefully on to Blackall, where I can get some fuel for the fridge van. Fuel tank on the fridge trailer was reading just under a quarter of a tank remaining, and at this stage it was starting to get to the point where if I didn't get fuel soon it was going to become an issue. So all being well, I had been informed that at Blackall there was a big BP there and I should be able to get fuel there without any issues, so fingers crossed, away we went. But it didn't turn out that way at all, because when I got to the BP I pulled up out the front of it and looked at it, and it was only a very small BP service station. I went inside and said, "Hey mate, have you got another BP, a bigger one than this one?" And he said, "No, this is the only one in town." Well, the issue with that was I was parked square across the front of his premises, and get in where he told me where the BP diesel pump was, it was down a bit of a laneway, so I had to go through the town so I could swing around and come back from the other way to get into the lane, because I couldn't get in from where I was parked there. I couldn't swing out wide enough to bring the back trailer in. And when I got down to the fuel pump I couldn't get the BP card to work. I finished up ringing ABC in Adelaide. They gave me some assistance, but still not to work. So yeah, I pushed on and started to think I was going to be running on fumes by the time I got fuel in the trailer. As luck turned out for me, there was a fuel outlet at Darwin that I could use to refuel the trailer, so filled it up and away we went, so didn't have to worry about that one now. Now rolling into Longreach with the Qantas terminal there on the right hand side as I go past it. Many years ago when Sally and I were over here, we stayed here, and the place was in a drought, and it was very sad to see the countryside around Longreach, but it's nice to see it recovered now, and with so much green on the paddocks and whatever, very nice. There's two roundabouts to negotiate as I went through Longreach, but this one coming up in front of us now, the first one I come to. Bit unusual to see a roundabout that looks like a football in shape, but easy enough to get around. They're big enough to drag a triple road train round without it too many issues. Now coming up to the second roundabout in Longreach. My day finished 68 kilometres short of Winton and pulled over into a parking bay and spent the night there before pushing on the next morning. Yeah, morning everyone. It's Friday morning, basically start of day 3, about 48 k's or 68 k's, sorry, Longreach side of Winton. So thought I might have got into Winton last night and fueled up, but not quite there, so not far off my target. And into the Northern Territory today, hopefully, so we'll just keep the wheels moving. It was only a short drive from my overnight stay into Winton, and I knew where I had to go to get the refuelling done, but getting there once I got into Winton, well, that was a different kettle of fish. I followed the bypass road from the entry into Winton around to Mount Isa, and then took the Hughenden Road, knowing that the refuelling station was on the Hughenden Road or just off of the road. But it took me off the bypass road. It's something I didn't know. I was at the point of no return. I couldn't turn around, so I had to keep going. And yeah, it was just so much easier if you could have a map with these bypass roads on it. It wasn't until I come back onto the Hughenden Road here to head back into Winton that I found the bypass road that I should have come through Winton or around the outskirts of Winton to get onto the Hughenden Road from the Longreach Road. And it's easy to know where to go once you've been there once, but for the first timer, not very easy at all. Now getting closer to Cloncurry and Mount Isa, the countryside changed from open flat country to starting to get into the hills. On the right hand side here you'll see a simple pull-in type parking bay, and it has got a toilet there, which is very good. It's good on you, Queensland. It's something that Northern Territory and South Australia could learn a lot from. I'm not very far out of Cloncurry at this stage, and I was unsure what bypass there was there, and I wasn't very far behind a truck when I come into Cloncurry, and he did a right hand turn and it looked like a major intersection. At that point in time I wasn't sure, having missed the sign to say that it was a heavy vehicle bypass. I didn't know whether it was a bypass road or whether he was doing a right hand turn to head out to another settlement, town, village, whatever. And anyway, I called him on the radio. He didn't answer me, so on the assumption it was a bypass, I actually did the right hand turn, fingers crossed. And yes, it was a bypass, but when I got down into the town, because of the flooded creek, the bypass was closed, and it was directing you, well, suggesting you go onto the old bypass, I think it was, for memory. Not knowing what was going on, I called someone up on the UHF, and there was someone good enough to answer me, and they told me that if I turned, he could obviously see where I was sitting. So he said if I did a left-hand turn there and just follow the old bypass out, and I'd come back out on the road that I wanted to go onto. And I did that, but once again, if there was a map for these sort of bypass roads, it would be so much easier. I didn't film any of this because it caught me all by surprise, so sorry about that. There's not much else I could do. Over the rise in front of me, my two-up driving partner Mark. He's heading back to Adelaide after doing a changeover at Three Ways in the Northern Territory. I'm now leaving Cloncurry, and if you have a look there now, you'll see the water in the creek, so I surmise that would have been the reason that what I'm going to call the newer bypass road was closed. It must go down through that at some stage, and now heading up the hill on my way to Mount Isa. We are all different, but for me, the road between Cloncurry and Mount Isa was probably the prettiest part of the entire drive that I did on this trip. With the hills and the green countryside, it was very nice to drive through. Obviously being hilly, not necessarily friendly to trucks, but nevertheless it doesn't take any of the scenery away. I don't know why, but for some reason I always thought there was going to be a heavy vehicle bypass to go around the outside of Mount Isa. As I say, I don't know why I thought that, but one of the towns that I definitely was going to look for a bypass, as it turned out there wasn't one. I had a truck following behind me into Mount Isa, and I called him up on the radio and asked him where the bypass started, and he said no, there's not one. He said just follow the main road down through the town, and it'll take you straight out the other side, and it's dual lane all the way through, or at least until you get down to the mine anyway, so very easy to take a road train down through there, and no issues at all. camera doesn't really show what's going on here with the stop lights. You see them go orange and it looks like it's well before I get there, but I'm actually going less than 40 kilometres an hour as we go down here. The camera shows it to be a little bit quicker, and with a triple road train obviously you can't stop them on a dime, so you need room to stop, and it appeared as though the light was orange a long time before I got there, but in reality it wasn't. Here's a better example of the stop lights changing. I get right on the lights here and they change orange, and by the time I'm in the middle of the intersection the lights go red, so that obviously indicates how slow I'm actually travelling at ground speed. Parked up in a parking bay on the western side of Mount Isa for a half-hour break. Now coming into Camooweal, which will be my last town in Queensland before I go over the border into Northern Territory. As I go over the bridge here, looking out to the left, you see all the water. It's got a couple of billabongs down there. It's renowned for camping overnighters and whatnot with caravanners and campers alike, and having spent a few nights down there in our caravan, it's certainly a very nice location to camp at. Well, this is the end of episode 2. Hope you're enjoying the trip so far, and we'll take it up from Camooweal on episode 3. If you like the video that you just watched, give us a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of our videos, hit the subscribe button, and once you've done that, tap on the bell and change the notification to all. That way every time we do uploads to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified.